Did you know you can tap into your subconscious with a sleeping method? And depending on like how you perceive things or how you deal with like stressful situations, it'll manifest in a way that is comfortable for you. Um, so story time. When it was before I was spiritual, it was before I started healing. I was in the midst of a really um, horrible divorce, and I didn't. I was still struggling with my atheism, like, and my spirituality. I wasn't. There had been some stuff that was happening that I hadn't hit it, so I still had that, like, I don't believe in this, like, oh, that was just a coincidence, and I still wasn't fully there just yet. And I knew I needed to get in therapy, but I was battling addiction at the same time. I think this was I think I was a real bad alcoholic. I was in the midst of trying to get sober, and I hadn't quite gone to therapy yet. And I ran into this video, Carl Jung, um, brief teachings, didn't really fully understand it at the time, but somebody was just like, if you want to tap into it, do this. So what I did was I set my alarm for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, fell asleep, woke up, and then set it again for another 30, 45 minutes. I can't remember now. It's been years since I've done this, and I haven't done it since because it scared me so bad. Um, I didn't set it the third time. Instead, I went ahead and went back to sleep and stayed asleep. And it was like what appeared before me was this green door. It was beautiful. It was green. It was white. It had like vines on it, but it wasn't in front of me. It was like on the floor. And I was struggling getting it opened. And I actually had to like step on it to get it open. So there I was. I opened it and I walk into this door, and in this place is white. I'm talking pure white, but there's multiple doors. Now, it was weird because these doors had different colors. And the first room door color, I'm trying to remember. It was either gray or black. It's been a years again. I know the next door after that. Okay, I don't want to mix up the story. So the first door will say gray, black, whatever. I go into that door, and in there is my biological father and my uncle. They're both abusers, abused me, SA'd me. So that's what this room was. They were aggressive. They had this like sunken in like dark eyes, and it was like the black was like down their face. Like, that's the best way. It was sunken in their, it was almost skeletal. Like their faces were sunken in too. And I knew this door. I think that's what I was experiencing. And again, they were aggressive, they were violent, they were this. The door was like moving in fog, or I don't know. It was weird. Okay, and I just remember a cloud of like gray. Like, now that I'm picturing and trying to pull it up, um, so I run out that door again, aggressive. I run out that door. I close that door. The next door was a red door. Funny enough, it contained my ex-husband. In this door, he hated the color red with a passion. Like, it would actually make him. He said it would make him feel like aggressive and angry. He said it was like a uncontrolled, reaction he got to it. Like, he wouldn't even go to Target because of the red. So I'm trying to remember. I opened the red door, and there he was again. He also had the sunken in eyes, and the blackness went down his face, sunken in. There was this room, and it was, I've always, when I had dreams of him, even being with him, I would be screaming at him, yelling, and he would just be like dead, he would be like, not stoic, avoidant, not there, detached. I'm trying to think of the words. You get the idea, right? There was no reaction from him. The room had cigarettes. He was like a, pack a day smoker. There were these ashtrays, cigarettes all over the place. He was an addict too. I'm trying to see if I remembered the walls, and I can't. I'll get back to you on that. There was just, I just remember everything was material. It was property. There was no feeling in there whatsoever. And he wasn't aggressive, but I just had to get out of that room real quick. I remember like feeling an arm, like a hand, touching me, but that's not where it got weird. So I make it out of that room, shut that door, and then the next door, for the life of me, I cannot remember the color, and maybe it's better that way. But I opened this door, and it was actually contained a man that I was in a situationship with. He ended up being, I'm trying to word this without giving him too much credit. He ended up being a catalyst to a rock bottom, that where I got up and chose to change after that. So, and never ever be in a situationship ever again. This man was described, I kept calling him a karmic, but I had many psychic mediums like stop calling him that. He was actually a soul bond. Y'all, I went celibate after that, so y'all beware of them soul bonds. Anyway, so in this room, I went in there, and there were women in the wall, naked women, boobs, butts, everything, all over the place, in the wall, on the ceiling, in the floor, on top of like tables, on top of like naked women waiting for their turn to have intercourse with him. I don't know what words we can say or can't say, so I'm just throwing words that won't get me banned or get this banned. Then in the middle of this room, and by the way, there were like rugs, paraphernalia all over the place, and he was standing there in the room. And in the middle of this room, he had like this woman in his arms, and she had like this like black hair, I think it was short, and or like, shoulder length, and he was, going like this, and he was like trying to kiss her, and I was like, what are you doing? And he just looked at me again. He had the dark eyes, sunken in face, and they basically looked demonic. I guess if you could describe it. I don't really, like that terminology, but that's the best way I can just, explain it. And he looked at me, and he was like laughing, and he just started yelling at me in this scary voice, "You're mine. You're never gonna leave here. You're mine. You're gonna stay in this room with me." And he went at me, and he was trying to grab me, and I remember just like running, and I felt the fear. I felt here. I felt my body trembling as if it were so real. And I made it to that door, and in this door, I shut it. I shut it hard. Like, I remember shutting it and feeling his fingers. I'm not even lying. I felt his fingers trying to, like, grab me through the door. And I finally got it closed after struggling, and I remember crying hysterically. I locked it, and I fell to my knees, and I was just crying and crying and crying. And then I looked up while I was crying, and it was just white from top to bottom walls. And I don't remember if I moved or how I moved, but all I remember next is this man. I couldn't see his face. To this day, I don't know his face. This is going to be a part 2.